4-1 job done for Manchester United against the worst team in the Premier League and possibly one of the worst teams in Premier League history. Wolves are, there's no getting away from this, absolutely terrible. So I feel like I have to say at the start of the pod, just to preface everything that I say that could be even construed as remotely positive, Wolves are terrible, Wolves are bad, and Manchester United should have beaten Wolves by that scoreline. And probably, well, yes, it should have been a hell of a lot more as well. They certainly had the chances to go and score 6, 7, 8 goals potentially. But 4-1 it was in the end, and it is job done. And it's nice to come away from that game knowing that there's been lots of opportunities over the last few weeks for Manchester United to take advantage of other teams dropping points in this mad middle Premier League table. Like all these teams are taking points off of each other. United were 12th, I think, going into this game on Monday night. By the end, they win. They jump up to 6th, and now they're level on points with Chelsea, who just beat Barcelona. And Chelsea like they've spent billions and billions of pounds on players who Enzo Maresca has wanted or not wanted, but the point is that they have done a squad rebuild at Chelsea, which, as much as I think it's been overdone, it's probably to the envy of people at Manchester United. Maybe they don't want to do it that way. In fact, they definitely don't want to do it that way. It's not the most sensible way to do it. But Enzo Maresca has a group of young, really talented players, and United are doing this rebuild and remodel a completely different way. Chelsea have been held up as this, fantastic football team, title challengers just a couple of weeks ago, and then they went and lost to Leeds. This is just the Premier League. This is how it is, and people are acting surprised by, oh, well, I can't believe United are level on points with Chelsea now. It's been the case all along. This league table in the middle, I've said it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Through this period where teams are playing each other and are going to take points off each other, this is an opportunity for United to climb up the league. The frustrating thing is that the last couple of Monday nights, they've both been Monday nights. Everton, Monday night. Yeah, West Ham. No, Thursday night West Ham wasn't it? So United have had those opportunities to go and take opportunities to jump up the league table, and they've missed them. They've missed the Everton opportunity against 10 men. They missed the opportunity to go and beat West Ham. And if they had taken 3 points in each of those matches, they would be even better off than they currently are now. But that's where we are in the table at the moment. 6th place after 15 games, 7 wins, 4 draws, 4 defeats, plus 4 goal difference. How nice is it to know that Manchester United are not on 0 or negative goal difference for once? We'll see how long this lasts. We don't know exactly yet, but United's form's been patchy, but so is everybody else's. And again, I'm sure I will do more over the course of the week talking about the fixtures that are coming up as well. United have Bournemouth next Monday at Old Trafford. That's a difficult game, even though they're in a patch of rubbish form, really. They haven't won in their last 5, according to the table. It could be even longer than that. I'm not entirely sure. But think of this now. United have Bournemouth at home. Newcastle play Sunderland next. Sunderland the 9th, Newcastle 12th. Tottenham play Nottingham Forest, who have shown that they can go and beat pretty good teams. Liverpool play Brighton, 8th versus 10th. Everton play Chelsea, 7th versus 5th. Crystal Palace play Manchester City. This is just the way that the league is going to be. And United do have, again, next week, a potential other opportunity to go and build on this again, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Consistency is the name of the game. United haven't been able to find it, but it is just good that the Wolves game is done and the Wolves game is put to the side, knowing that United have done what people were expecting them to do, even though during the game it was a tear your hair out kind of moment at times, given Wolves scored their first goal in 5 games, I think 9 hours of football. United obviously had to give them that goal, didn't they? They obviously had to. We could all see it coming. We all knew it would happen. But they went on and, in the second half, were much, much better, much more clinical. So it's a big relief. And the good thing is as well, the joke has been, can we play Wolves every week? Well, Wolves will play United again by the end of the year. I think it's the last game of this year for United to play. Just checking the fixtures now. They have matches coming up, obviously. Yeah, it is. It's the last game of the year for United. So they have Bournemouth Aston Villa and Newcastle, 3 difficult games, and then Wolves on the 30th of December to end 2025 in what has been an absolutely miserable year that I think everybody just wants ended. Miserable year in football terms. I've got to say, personally, I've not had the best year of my life, and that's putting it lightly. But, United are in that position now where they're just in that conversation, in that mix, and that's all that I've really expected of the team. We know that, and this is a thing I would like to get out there as well. Progress is not linear, everyone. Progress is not linear. You can't expect that it's up and to the right all the time. You can't expect that is going to be the case. We know there's deficiencies in this team. We know there's characteristics in this team that have held the team back for years. We know that they haven't done all that they need to do in the transfer market in order to get United to the point where Ruben Amorim has his ideal 11 or ideal 15 or ideal 16 or 18 squad of players or whatever. You just have to sit through this, not think that the world is ending after every single game. And that's my approach anyway. And just get on with it. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, and it's going to be the case for every team or most teams in this league as well. And now United are only... Look at it's such a crazy season, and the point still stands. If they can hit some consistency, which again, in this part of the season now, with more Champions League games coming up tonight on Tuesday night and this kind of thing, more like FA Cup games. United have drawn Brighton in the FA Cup at Old Trafford, which is just fantastic, isn't it? A game against Brighton at home. Brighton, a team that really cause a lot of trouble to United and have beaten them at Old Trafford many, many times before. United did beat them just recently, but you know how you feel about that Brighton game. The only silver lining that I thought of when I saw that draw come through was that, hey, at least they're not playing a League One team again, and we don't have to have a conversation about possibly losing to a League One team. Silver linings, try and see that. But it's a really important phase, again, for United coming up. They could go... Looking at the fixtures, like Crystal Palace versus Manchester City, Chelsea versus Everton next. Difficult games for each of those. Can United go and take another 3 points next? And just think, they're just in this conversation. They're still in it. And that's why I'm not losing my mind all the time and melting down at every single thing that I see. Why, now the conversation is, well, why isn't he bringing on academy players why isn't Shea Lacey getting any minutes? I'll come to that later. I do have a frustrating... I am quite frustrated that he's not utilizing the academy quite so much, but I do understand why. People are losing their heads at every single little thing that happens within a match. You're going to bring an academy player into that to have them be... What happens generally? Do these players get held up and... back to every turn, or do they have social media comments coming their way? If United don't win a game, do they have social media comments saying you're crap? Well, we know that these young lads live on social media. We know that United are not in the best moment at all. We know what, and I'm sure you've all felt it as well. We know what supporters are like. We know what the online scene is like. I'm not saying that he's doing it specifically because of that, but United are not in a place at the moment where everything is well and good. And especially at 3-1 last night, where he wasn't brought on. For the record, I thought he maybe could have brought him on at 4-1. I'd have liked to have seen it, but he didn't do it. You can't just bring young academy players into the mix at demands, at the behest of everybody, because I don't want to see tokenized gestures. I don't want to see them. And plus the game wasn't, up until 4-1 for me, it wasn't beyond doubt. It wasn't done. We've seen United blow 2-goal leads or really, really shake from 2-goal leads recently. And God, against the worst team in the league and possibly one of the worst teams in Premier League history, do you want to let them have a chance to get back into that game? No. I think for what it's worth, that night was not as good as it could have gone, because United could have scored 6, 7, 8 goals and they could have kept a clean sheet. There were times where, United let them back in and the midfield was leaky, and it was there were problems at times and Wolves caused them. But as bad as they are, you just have to get through this game. It wasn't really it was a lose-lose situation, really. United, if they'd have dropped points in this game, the world would have melted down. If they'd have won 3-1, even now after 4-1, people are still not happy. It was just a case of getting by in this game and just putting the fires out for another week. And I think United did a decent job of that, even though the online discussion and narrative will tell you otherwise. But look, here we are. Wolves are terrible. 27 shots from Manchester United, 63% possession, 4.2 XG. And the big picture is United are 6th in the league at the moment, 3rd highest goal scored. And you can't, in terms of the league position, just as United were 12th going into that game and are 6th now, it doesn't really mean a lot. Just looks good optically. It doesn't really mean a lot because the margins are so tight. United 25 points. They are 3 points ahead of Newcastle, who are 12th, and United play Newcastle in a few weeks' time as well. So things can go pear-shaped just as quickly as they can turn around. But the big things are, like, Aston Villa have won their last 5 games now. I think it might even be, I think they won 9 in 10. Now they're 3rd in the league, 3 points off Arsenal. It just goes to show, if you can hit that level of consistency for a few weeks, you can separate yourself from the pack. You can do it. And that opportunity will remain there for United over the next few weeks and over the rest of the season. Because again, and I say this again, they are only playing that one game a week. And Aston Villa, all these teams around them mostly, are going to have European football to contend with. A lot of them have small squads. And it's a question of how long can you keep it going, and will you hit a wall? Will you drop off? I need to be there and be well placed to take advantage of that. I think it's going to be the case for a large chunk of the season as well. But I'm not really buying too much into like where United are in the league at the moment because the table is so close. But it does look better optically. The thing I'm looking at really is 3rd highest goal scored in the league now. For a team that's boring, for a team that doesn't have a clue how to attack, only Arsenal, who are top of the league, and Manchester City, who are 2 points off them, have scored more goals in the Premier League than Manchester United have this season. And I swear, because United have struggled to break down Everton and struggled to break down West Ham, who are 2 teams that came to Old Trafford that United should be beating, the idea has been that this, and look, they can be toothless at times against when they face teams who are sitting in, and I don't think they always have the players really to go and control matches and like suffocate teams to the point where you wear them down and end up scoring. I think that's an evolution that United will have to come. But the point is, 3rd highest goal scorer in the league, plus 4 goal difference. The problem really is the fact that United conceding so many goals. They went into the summer transfer market and addressed the attacking area of the pitch. And even while Mateus Cunha's only scored 1 goal and Benjamin Sesko's been out injured, he's only scored 2, the whole team, they do look better than last season. So people are always challenging, am I seeing progress? Am I seeing progress? It's right there in front of you. It is. And I see the big question of, is this sustainable? Is this sustainable? It might not be at this point, but progress is not linear. Things will need to happen to this team. Things and characteristics of this team will need to change. It's all about just picking up points at the moment. And again, I'll say this, picking up points for Ruben Amorim at the moment and getting to a certain point where he can get to the next stage of the rebuild that United need to do. I think there were times last night where I was thinking that, oh God, this, the ownership haven't been ruthless enough. I had that conversation with myself or with you guys on the podcast over the summer. Have they been ruthless enough? Have they? And I have felt at times this season that they weren't quite. But in the end, they pushed those worries away, and it's a worry for another day. What the players need to do really is just make sure that they're going into every game and are putting their best foot forward. And there are plenty of players who are rising from the ashes of whatever this is. Mason Mount he's been held up as the worst signing in United's history for the last couple of years. Of course, I'm embellishing a little bit. I'm going based off the social media conversation here and how superlative this has to be at all times. I think Mason Mount's a really good example of this. Like, I've seen Mason Mount being hailed last night as sensational and unbelievable. These are all comments but you have to always speak in superlatives nowadays. That's just the way to go and get social media attention, and that's just the way to go about you know, everyday conversation nowadays. Football is so extreme. Everything's so extreme nowadays. But and I'm not saying that he wasn't. I thought he was really, really good last night. But he's gone from being one of the worst signings that United have ever made to absolutely sensational in a game against Wolves, who are the worst team in the Premier League this season, and potentially one of the worst teams in Premier League history. There's no real middle point. I always say never too high, never too low. It's just we swing from one side to the other, one side to the other, one side to the other, and it frustrates the life out of me, honestly. But regardless, that is a point I wanted to make. Mason Mount himself is at a good time in the season as well, playing himself into a position of real importance for the team, and it's really good to see that he's starting to hit a bit of a positive patch of form. He scored at Palace the other day, scored against Sunderland as well. His output has been not good enough, like simply, but he has had a lot of injury problems. He has had a lot of absences. And I think it's really good that he's now able to put his best foot forward when he plays a lot of games. I think he's becoming quite important to what Ruben Amorim wants his team to do. And I think it's an important part of the season as well for him to be in that position and be playing at this level that he's playing at currently, because we know that Ahmad, Brian Mbeumo, Nus Mazraoui, obviously a defender, but we know that those players are going on AFCON duty as early as next Monday. We're like, Ruben Amorim has yet to confirm, because they don't know whether these lads will be held and able to play at Old Trafford for the Bournemouth game next week. So we might not even have them for the Bournemouth game next week at the moment. It looks likely potentially that they will stay there. I think that's just a gut feeling I have. Maybe they leave directly after it. I don't know. I think that's what I think will happen. But regardless, it's good that players are now starting to step up and players are now starting to show their value and their worth to the team. Mason Mount is a really good example of that. He's very intelligent. He's starting to add more goals to his game. He's dropping into certain positions to influence play and pick out passes. And just, I think the team are better with him in it. And I think that's been the case for most of the season so far, even though United have signed an entirely new front three of Sesko, Mbeumo and Cunha. Mount is the kind of player which Ruben Amorim and plenty of coaches like. And he is, to me at the moment, he's not the first name you put down on the team sheet all the time, is he? He's not. And I don't know if he always will be, because as Amorim has talked about, it's important that they manage his minutes. And there was a really interesting comparison that Amorim made in his post-match press conference to Mason Mount's situation, to Luke Shaw's situation as well. He said that with Luke Shaw last season, United were really having to build him up and make sure that they took real care of him because of the injury record that he's had at Manchester United over the years. And I'll talk about Luke Shaw in a second, because for the record, I think Luke Shaw has been really good over the last few weeks, and I'm starting to see real positives out of him. But I think they're doing the same thing with Mason Mount. And what United have done, in the absence of consistency and in the absence of identity and is this sustainable and all of this kind of stuff, they are showing that. And look, it could well be down to the lack of European football and the volume of matches, but they have shown that they can manage minutes of players who are injury prone and start to get the best out of them. We've seen it with Luke Shaw, and I'll talk about him in a second, like I say. But Mason Mount as well is growing in importance to this team, and I think the club have managed his minutes and managed his condition really quite well. I don't think he's a lock-in for every single game, and I don't think that will always be the case either. I think it's important that United do, while they have a big squad, it's important that they do maintain Mount's condition and make sure that they don't run him into the ground and re-trigger an injury. I think that's the way that they should be treating him. I think they're treating him really well, and the United are starting to reap the rewards for it as well. Mason Mount's been really good when he's played over the last few weeks. And I said on an episode recently that we do need to see more in terms of output from Mason Mount, whether that's assists or goals. And obviously he scored a really good goal in this Wolves game last night. Assist from Bruno Fernandes. I think it was for 3-1, wasn't it? Bruno Fernandes he's so good at creating. He's so good at seeing passes. He was kind of in the channel a bit deep, and Mason Mount makes that run, checks his run, makes sure he's onside, Bruno Fernandes picks him out, and it's a lovely side-footed finish, side-footed volley into the bottom corner, get past Sam Johnston, who I was thinking at the time when the match started, especially after he made those saves from Dallo, and I think another one he made as well. I was thinking that it could be a night where United have a nightmare against the keeper that came through their academy again, much like Tom Heaton did at Old Trafford a few years ago when he was playing for Burnley. I think they drew 0-0 or something like that. And it's good to see that they did manage to kind of put that to one side, and Mason Mount steps up and got player of the match. And I think he was really good, and he deserved it. He warranted it. And I think there were some other players as well in that mix who quite easily have got it. I think Bruno Fernandes, obviously the numbers speak for himself. It was good to see that he got that penalty, right? And I think there were people clamoring for Cunha to take it or somebody else to take it. But you got to remember the penalty record that Bruno has this season. He's missed 2, right? He's missed, he skied one against Fulham. He's missed another one as well. And it was important at the time of the game at 3-1, knowing that there were still a few minutes left as well, that United just put the game to bed because they don't do it well enough. And Bruno Fernandes, obviously, with a really good penalty, he scored the first goal of the game as well after... God, I'm jumping all around, but the first goal of the game was not entirely sure what happened. It was one of the craziest goals I've ever seen, most untidy goals that I've seen in ages. Good win back from Casemiro, careless from Andre, I think it was, in the Wolves midfield, and they did their best to mess it up, Cunha and Bruno Fernandes, but in the end, he did bundle it in, and it gave United a good cushion in the game, which they should have built on, that they didn't build on. But Bruno, if United are scoring goals, if United are an attacking force, Bruno Fernandes will have something to do with it. You know that he will be scoring goals. You know that he will be creating them. That's just the kind of player he is. He's incredibly valuable for United wherever he's playing on the pitch. And I thought he was, again, really good last night. I picked Bryan Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes in my FPL free hit. Didn't quite captain him. I should have, looking back. But it was enough of a risk as it was, taking 2 Manchester United players, even against Wolves, and trusting them to go and get you points. But as it worked out, very good, very good. Luke Shaw as well. I have touched on him a couple of times. I wanted him to play at left wing back a lot, and Amorim has spoken about not wanting to put him there. He needs to train there first. And obviously Licha Martinez as well is back in the picture and getting minutes now. And it's important. And it's another option at left centre-back or at central centre-back, which is where he came on last night. It's really good. What I'm seeing out of Luke Shaw at the moment is, and this is a trait that I'm always seeing, he really seems to understand and anticipate when to go and win the ball back. In that, when the ball comes into a man he's marking, he's very, very good and very adept now at stepping in front of that player and winning the ball back for Manchester United, whether that's in a tackle or whether that is in an interception and he turns the ball over. It happened against Brighton a couple of times. It's happened quite a bit in certain matches over the last few weeks. So I think he's really locking down that specific role in the team. But I understand, I suppose, why, with how good Luke Shaw is playing. And he's not world beating at the moment. You have to context this with where United are in the league and who they're playing against and how good can a player really play if this is what United are at the moment. So always keep that context in your mind. But I think Luke Shaw seems to understand what the job is. And I think that's really important. And maybe now I'm not so surprised that he's not pushing him out to left wing back to accommodate Martinez. I think this is going to be a slow burn. Amorim has said over the last few weeks, I think last week, that Shaw needs time to train in that position if he's going to move to left wing back, and time to really understand the position. Because you can really see, if you watch him, how important Luke Shaw is becoming and how good he is at anticipating those interceptions and winning the ball back for United. So Luke Shaw, really good as well. And Aiden Heaven as well, the other player that I wanted to shout out, has been... Look, he had a challenging game last week. Subbed off at half-time on a yellow card, which was... It was a silly tackle that he made. Inexperienced tackle, I suppose. Was subbed off. I thought he actually did quite well in that game the other day. The first time that he was tried in the central centre-back position. It's a big vote of confidence with, Lenny Yoro, who is a high transfer value player who's come in. He's having a bit of a difficult moment himself. But to trust Aiden Heaven to put him in there, knowing that you got to take Yoro out the firing line as well, really, and protect him. Heaven has really started to show that he's ready. I think he said in his post match that he feels like the manager trusts him a little bit more now. And I think that's evident. That's the case because he was picked again to start this Wolves game. Really important. I think he did really well. And for all of the criticism that Amorim's getting at the moment about not playing young players, and Aiden Heaven's not very old, guys. He is getting that vote of confidence. He is getting ahead of Lenny Yoro, who's young himself, and Licha Martinez, who, yes, he's coming back from injury, but sometimes managers will just throw experienced players back in straight away because they need the minutes and they need the experience in the team. But no, Aiden Heaven gets picked again in the absence of De Ligt and Maguire. Hope De Ligt's back soon, by the way, but Heaven has really shown that he's able to step in. And it was against both teams, Even West Ham the other day, I said on the last pod that I did, West Ham weren't very good. They didn't do anything, and Heaven was, when he was on the pitch, I think quite effective outside of that yellow card. And again, he deserved the start. It's good to see that Amorim is placing trust in him. And it's good to see that he took his chance. So I hope that he will feature more in this team moving forward, whether that's at left centre back or at central centre back as well. I think the time to play him will be. He will get plenty of chances, I think, like I say. But even though United seem to have a hell of a lot of defenders that they need to rotate in, and Ruben Amorim, the running joke is, how many defenders can he substitute? He always makes those defensive changes. And look, I do have a lot of defenders that they need to bring in and keep the minutes up and rotate through. So look, it's good to see there was some good individual performances there. Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, Luke Shaw, Aiden Heaven as well. There's other players in the team, but it's positive to know that United have come out of this one with no real concerns or worries, and they've just done the job that they were expected to in the end. Wouldn't be a win for Manchester United, though, without some kind of existential crisis to come alongside it in the conversation. And the latest one is, look, I knew this would happen. Everybody knew this would happen. Let's not pretend that we weren't expecting this. Conceding a goal to Wolves, who haven't scored in 5 games, or is it long? Is it that long? Is it 9 hours of football until they'd scored? Bellegarde scoring on the stroke of half-time because United stepped off the gas. And you just knew that it was happening. You just knew that it was. I think if you weren't prepared for it, I think you were a little bit. Look, everybody was prepared for it, weren't they? Everybody knew this was going to happen. And at the point, it did look that if you were just worried, oh no, could this take the wrong turn again? Could United go and lose to this team that haven't beaten anybody in the Premier League this season? They have 2 points from 15 games. They've lost 13 out of 15. That was the worry, obviously, but I think United did come out second half and pretty much put it right straight away, which is good to see. But conceding to Wolves it's not something to really look. The defensive record is a concern, and I think United, knowing that they are playing so many kind of defensive bodies in there or defensive players, it is a concern, and I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to say that it isn't. Look, United will be a hell of a lot further up the league table if they hadn't conceded 22 goals. That is an issue that needs to be addressed. I think there's a lot of reasons or a lot of ways that you can go about addressing that. I think, honestly, I do think that the midfield is super important in this. I do think that you need a bit more tenacity and a bit more bite in there, a bit more energy, a bit more speed across the middle of the pitch. But I knew that would be an issue at the start of the season because United didn't go and sign a midfielder. That was just the case. Knew that it was going to be that. And I'm not particularly blaming anyone here. I don't think it's anybody's fault that I can really think of. It's a team thing. It's a team thing, right? And conceding to Wolves it was the embarrassing thing to do on the night. And this is Manchester United. We have to do it the hard way. It's always the case. And I think the problem with it, I suppose, I'm not blaming individuals, like I say, but the problem with it was, I suppose, that the team had stepped off the gas and allowed Wolves back into the game. And they did it a little bit, I think, after 2-1 as well. But again, I think this is just a mental thing within this team. It's just the way that this team is wired. And I think it just really is so difficult to change this. Like, I know that I come across here as like defensive of Ruben Amorim. And again, I want to make it clear that I don't, I'm not specifically saying that Amorim has to stay in this job for the remainder of time. I'm not never said that at all, you know? Maybe like people are quick to always point the blame at the manager. I don't think he wants the team to play like this. He even said it afterwards. The first thing he said in his post-match press conference was like, "Yes, we let Wolves have a chance to get back in the game." That's like literally the first thing he said when he sat down in that press room after the game, and he looked really incredibly annoyed and disappointed at it. Like, I don't think this is an instruction from him. I can't get my head around how people think that it is. Like, be careless on the ball. Don't take care of it. Step off the gas. Like, the profile of manager that he is, I just don't think that he's like that. I don't think that's the way that he is, personally. Like, the sloppiness that comes about, the lack of intensity that comes about, I think it's a characteristic of the team that he's trying to change. And he knows that he's trying to change it, and is taking a hell of a lot longer than it should. He said as well in his post-match that I think we need to find different ways to play the game. And I haven't really mentioned this. Maybe I'll talk about it a little bit more on the pod in the days to come. Like, United have never been good at controlling football matches in the last decade plus. Like, think of a manager, all the managers that United have had since Ferguson, and think of all the midfielders that United have had. Have they ever replaced Michael Carrick, really? Like, think of like we all would love to see United have possession-based footballers in the midfield who can take a lot of the sting out of the game, keep possession, just roll it around, make the opposition run a little bit, and great. That'll be the way that you take the sting out of the game. You starve the opponent of possession. That's just the way that it goes. And then you go and like build up more momentum. You pin the team back and you score another goal. Like, I don't think United in this, regardless of the system that they play, I don't think that they are capable of doing that. I don't think that this team is able to do that. And I don't think they've ever really been able to do that because of the profiles of players that they have in that midfield area. I don't think they ever really signed one or two like proper metronomic possession kind of players. I think that's where the issue stems from, the control thing. I think that's where it stems from. You look back to like some of these managers have had Michael Carrick in the team, but obviously he was coming to the end of his career as well at United. But Moyes, did they ever really have control under David Moyes? No. Van Gaal, probably the coach that has prioritized control of the ball more than anybody that United have had down the years. They had control of matches, but they had no bite. That was just the way that it was. Van Gaal, Mourinho as well after that, not his profile to go and control matches. Solskjaer, Ollie Ball, the stick to beat him with at the time was that it was counter-attacking football. That's the way that it was. Rangnick, no, never had control. Ten Hag, no, never had control. Amorim, United have just not got these midfield players to go and control matches. I don't think. They have to do it in a different way, and Ruben Amorim acknowledges this, but I don't think you're going to get that element of control until United go and address the areas of the team that we all know that they need to fix. I think they need those kinds of midfielders that will be able to pop the ball around and just make sure that keeping possession, short passes is the most important thing. You get a lot of direct passes at the moment, which is proving quite effective at times. Wolves certainly couldn't deal with it last night. It's proven quite effective at times, that direct style of passing. But even Amorim does know, and he's acknowledging it publicly, this team needs to find out how to play different ways. And I think controlling games and taking sting out of games is a quality that United lack. And I think it probably does drive Amorim up the wall a little bit. And I will say this, Wolves scoring that goal and Wolves being as bad as they are, right? The fact that United were level at 1-1 with them up to a point at halftime, and the game was relatively close and United hadn't killed it off, Like, yes, they are bad and they are one of the worst teams in Premier League history, but Aston Villa is everybody's darling at the moment because they've won 9 out of 10 games. They only beat them 1-0 2 weeks ago, guys. Like, through a screamer from Boubacar Kamara, through a screamer in like the 70th minute or something like that. It's just like, I kind of feel as though we have to always have something to complain about. And I've said so many times that if United are winning, right, just take a day off. Take a day off. I certainly will enjoy my week a bit more now because we don't have to have days and days worth of complaints. I'm just looking at this through a wider lens. I'm not saying that what United are doing at the moment is entirely sustainable, that they're going in the right direction all the time. But progress, you got to remember, progress is not linear. It's not. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. And so long as United are in the conversation for top 4, top 5, top 6, I'm not going to sit here and complain that everything is terrible and that United are going absolutely nowhere, because I think there is a big rebuild to do here that is going to require different personnel. I've said this for a long time. The job that Amorim has to do this season is win enough games to meet the targets of getting into Europe so he can go on to build in the next phase of what he wants to do. I think different personnel will really, really impact what United are doing. And what you're seeing at the moment isn't necessarily the final form of what the coach wants either. I think he's just looking at the personnel that he's got, going a bit horses for courses with it, and trying to get the best out of the players that he's currently got at the moment, while trying to balance what he wants to do with the system. You know, that's just my take on it. I'm not sure everybody will agree. You probably won't. If you want the manager out, you want the manager out. But for me, I'm just taking this one step at a time. Never too high, never too low is the way to go for me. And yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on that Wolves game. There's lots more to talk about as well. Over the course of the next few days, I'll definitely come up with some more talking points and topics. And look, I do have issues with Amorim's management as well. And I think maybe should be a time this week to kind of do an episode like that where I do take the critical lens, because I know there are people that want that criticism to be acknowledged. And I know there is criticism of the manager that you can take. I know that is the case. I'm just looking at this holistically, and that's just the way that I feel at the moment. But yeah, there's more episodes to come over the course of the week. This is the Promise Sam podcast. Please subscribe to Apple, Spotify, and all of those different places, YouTube as well. All the links are in the description. Please subscribe over there. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a show. Like the video, 5-star reviews on the content as well on the audio platforms. Drop a comment below as well on YouTube or on Spotify or any of those places too. And follow me on social and get in touch with me on social as well at _Scott Saunders on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. I'll see you soon, everyone. United have beaten Wolves. They're 6th in the league. And for a few days at least, things don't look as terrible as they have been over the recent weeks. So until next time, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching. See you soon.